Looking for coffee that can finally give you the flavor and experience you have been missing? Then your next coffee order should come from SeaStateCoffee.com. Sea State Coffee is premium, hand-selected, highest grade available coffee that is roasted on order, delivered fresh to you. And right now you can take 10% off your order by using the code GRIND10. That's GRIND and the number 10 for 10% off your Sea State Coffee order. Head over to SeaStateCoffee.com so you can enjoy the smoothest and most caffeinated coffee available. Start your day off right with Sea State Coffee.
This week in the Route 16 Grind, in the Outdoor Update, we will talk about hides for habitat. And from the field, we talk about off-season physical preparations. In the Rock, Mud, and Dirt, Kevin Yow from Tops Down Jeep Club shares how they are coming together to save a local Jeep week. In Go Adventuring, we interview Season 6 Alone contestant Michelle Ann Wohlberge from Legacy Survival Training. Then we wrap up the show with a cup of joe.
Route 16 Grind, episode 27, Alone and Amazing.
The Route 16 Grind is sponsored by Sea State Coffee, Warren Industries, Tuffy Security Products, and Route 16 Off-Road. Welcome to the Route 16 Grind, the podcast for outdoor adventurers. Each week, we bring you information related to off-road and outdoor activities. If you wheel, hunt, fish, overland, or are an all-around adventurer, this podcast is for you. Each week, we pour a cup of Sea State coffee and talk about informative topics, the gear, and the training that can help you have a successful outdoor adventure. We have amazing contributors and some great conversation. So, grab your cup and enjoy the show. Here are your hosts.
All right, welcome back to the Route 16 Grind. Ethan and I are here to help entertain you, educate you, inform you of some amazing things we got going on this week and some amazing people. Ethan, man, I'm so glad for this week, man. We got a lot of good stuff.
What's going on, everybody? And Brian, hello. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing good, man. I've been pretty busy. And, obviously we live in North Carolina. A lot of new things coming out today from the governor. I'm not really appreciative of some of that. But we're going to get through it, man. I mean, and on the big picture thing, we're going to make it.
Yeah. I feel like you're just busy every week. Always busy, huh?
Well, yeah, I think it's really me. I like to stay busy. I remember when my buddy Shane and he was on the show a few weeks ago. I just couldn't. I personally would not function as the Walmart greeter. I'd be organizing the front. I'd be like helping people out. I'd be talking about, like the specs on something. I really like to stay busy. I like to do that. And the thing about it is it's nice having the time to do that. You and I come from an environment where we're gone a lot. We're missing these small moments, and being able to have these moments now, I appreciate.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's like, you really don't realize it because you're in that like high up tempo. And, once you step out of it, you're like, wow,
it's
I
crazy.
really have time to stop and appreciate life.
I can have a podcast. Yeah. All right. So we have a lot of stuff going on, and we want to get to the show. So let's go ahead and get rolling. We appreciate your posts and feedback. One of the best ways to help out the show is to post a 5-star review with your feedback on Stitcher and Apple Podcasts. This helps us grow the Route 16 Grind audience, and we also get a chance to hear from you. So if you love the show, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating on Stitcher and Apple Podcasts today.
The Outdoor Update is brought to you by Tuffy Security Products. Having your vehicle broken into is not a laughing matter. Trust Tuffy Security Products to stop opportunistic thieves. Tuffy is the industry leader in automotive security and provides peace of mind when you walk away from your rig. Durable and easy to install, Tuffy Security Products has adventure-ready consoles, drawers, and lockboxes available for you to organize your rig and secure your gear. Visit TuffyProducts.com and use special offer code GRIND to save 10% on your order. Remember to lock it up.
Welcome back to the Outdoor Update. This is the weekly segment where we provide you with stories, news, and information from the recent going-ons in the outdoor world. And this week, as previously mentioned, I'm going to talk about hides for habitat. So hides for habitat is by no means something new. This is just something that as I was scrolling through, I came across something, and it was essentially, a deer hunter with a ton of hides in front of a conservation post. And I was like, oh, cool, what's this? And the more I read, I due to personal ignorance, I just did not realize that something like this existed. Now, this comes from some of these facts I'm going to state for you guys, specifically from Minnesota. And it's a program they've actually been putting on since 1985. So I'm going to talk about some of the benefits, what it is, and how you may be, if you feel compelled, be able to implement something like this with your local conservation office or game warden's office to be able to reap some of the benefits of the charitable donations you could receive from this. So, like I said, it's a pretty neat program that can make a huge difference in your state game lands, your conservation efforts. And what it is essentially is just hunters harvest deer. You can get with your local game processing shops, etc. And these outposts are able to collect these hides, compile them, and there actually are I don't want to say specialty niche, but there are consumers that will buy these and be able to make handbags and different types of outerwear, and they do a lot of things for the needy and stuff like that. So there's a lot of programs that will purchase these, and Minnesota in particularly has been running this program every single late winter, early after the new year, once all the hunting seasons have kind of slowed down. Obviously they run it throughout the hunting seasons, but they've collected over 900,000 deer hides, and their sales peaked at roughly $5.5 million over the last 35-ish years. So some of their allocations of funds, their proceeds went to a lot of things like their state habitat committees, which those actually reallocated the funds to organize banquets, kind of like how the wild turkey federations and stuff like that have annual banquets for members, which just further made the charitable donations kind of reproceeds of funds, if you will. They did a lot of local projects with it to, build duck blinds and, different little habitats for deer and stuff like that, which leads me into my next one. Over 25% went to the conservation for seed and fruit tree program. So definitely getting out there, making sure, because, we as Americans, we continuously just monopolize businesses, buildings, homes, subdivisions. So we need to make sure we're preserving those wetlands, especially those game lands, hardwoods that we do have, and make sure that we are creating a lucrative environment, for our animals, for our herds. That way we can, be able to take our kids hunting, and we set up the next generation for success. It also donates to the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association and Outdoor Heritage Fund. They do a plethora of other things along the same lines. They also donated to the Clean Water Fund. And, like I said, guys, this is just something that it's something so small, because otherwise, what are you doing with it? You throw them away, you throw them out in the woods, you repurpose them as far as animals, they can consume them, and they kind of just erode, if you will, into the soil, and the cycle of life continues. But this is something to where, if there's a market for it out there, I think that this is something that we could organize and get into to be able to, accrue some funds and stuff for it's just something small on our level that you can do at a local state to be able to produce some funds to, keep this passion we have going.
I have so many questions that I think, honestly, we probably should look at reaching out. Is it a national Hides for Habitat? Is that a national organization? And it just is Minnesota is just like one of the components of it? Or is it something that Minnesota itself has started and other people can kind of do it? So
So most of the research I did and what I found was it's actually Minnesota Deer Hunters Association puts on Hides for Habitat.
Okay.
And it is literally like a librarian Dropbox. It's they put these, obviously it's cooler up there. You're not going to do this in the middle of summertime.
No, I mean, but you have to think about all these like food, like they're on, so on Fort Bragg, you can say, hey, I harvested my deer. And maybe your freezer's full and you're like, hey, I just want to do a cape. I want to do a trophy mount, but I want this meat to go to some people that are needy. So there are groups that you can donate your harvest to. And so I'm thinking you get with a group like that who collects, hundreds of deer over a season. And they're able to now take the hide and utilize it. And just like you said, like if you have someone that does that service for you, you can go to service, hey, can you donate or give it to me to where I can contain it and preserve it to where I can donate. I think it's a great thing because to me, it's a lot of things. One, it's the respect for your harvest, the animal itself. You're utilizing every component that you possibly can from it. And that's a great way because, again, man, it's a life and you want to make sure you respect that and utilizing the hide for repurposing, provide warmth and utility. That's a great thing. And then on top of it, the money going to all sorts of wonderful things that help preserve and conserve the herd, the habitat, like all those things. And you're just, wow, dude, I'm totally stoked about learning more about this. And, I think we should reach out to them, man, and see if we can bring on the show and get the finer details of it and maybe help our audience understand, hey, this might be something you might be able to do. And they can talk about how they did it and we can learn from it and maybe start it ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think the first step would be reaching out to, from what I'm even scrolling through now here, it's the Minnesota Deer Hunters Association. So I'll be reaching out to them just to kind of see, hey, because it appears that they've expanded as well. It probably started out that there's some good ideas in 1985, and now it appears that they have drop stations all throughout the northern Midwest. I don't know. Is that proper?
Yeah.
All throughout some of the bordering states of Minnesota. So, that's definitely something that I could get on board with. And if we could help, further, keep that wheel turning, we definitely will in our capacity.
The Red Warren Badge says you're equipped to handle anything, ready to conquer any challenge that may come your way. That badge has stood for off-road excellence for more than 70 years. During that time, we haven't stopped innovating or striving for perfection. Be ready. Be prepared. Go Warren.
When you hear the calls, we have a report from the field. And this week, I'm going to talk about how important physical fitness in the off-season is and how it can equal success in the fall. All right. So this is not necessarily a touchy subject, but definitely something that can be misconstrued. And I don't want to turn anybody away from it because it's like, I feel like there's this demographic of, you mentioned fitness and your brain automatically goes to the extreme of like shirtless gym pictures and copious amounts of like preparation to where it becomes not just a lifestyle, but an obsession. So I don't want to turn anybody off by using the word fitness in an outdoor segment, but because I don't want to be the next dude, as Brian said, comes up here and just, more burpees and push-ups. That's not what I'm getting at here. But, it's something to be considered because we've all been there. All right, show of hands out there. I'm definitely guilty of it. You want to go spot and stock, or, you've got your proper layering on, but you're trying to get up, a 20-foot tree stand in the morning while carrying, a 50, 60-pound pack, maybe depending on, your loadout and where you're going. Plus you're pulling up your weapon or bow or whatever, and you get up, and by the time you walk, a mile or something back to your spot, get up in your stand, you're breathing heavy. And that's just like an everyday average deer hunt. Now, let's say you actually do have the passion and you want to go out west and you want to, pursue that trophy bull elk. Well, you're not walking a mile now. You're sometimes, essentially rucking with not a 60-pound pack, but maybe a 100-pound pack, because you might have your day bag plus your sleeping situation, plus your all your rations, your weapons, pack your trash in, or pack your trash out, etc. And you might be moving 12 clicks a day to close to 10-12 miles up and down steep terrain in higher elevation. So these are all things to be considered, because I actually had a friend one time booked a $20,000 Dall sheep hunt or something. Hunt of a lifetime. This guy was a really good friend, like a mentor to me. And he went out there unprepared. And he said that was one of his biggest regrets in hunting was, not taking the time to better prepare to be able to equal success climbing those mountains. So couple tips and tricks I'm going to go over, and just put a little, excuse me, I hit the mic. Little tips and tricks that you can start implementing now that, it might just help you in that key moment. So one of the things I always say is know your terrain. So if you're hunting around here where we are, you're not necessarily worried about elevation. You're not worried about, climbing mountains, but things that you are worried about, your wetlands, getting your feet soaked, making sure and this is all going to tie in, folks, making sure you're packing proper, footwear, extra socks, etc. And then, making sure that you're practicing in those times when you're going to be moving. Don't pack your ruck up and do like a 5-mile hike or something at noon on a Saturday. You know what I mean? You actually get up and make a movement when you're going to be moving, prior to the dawn. You got to know your elements, as I just touched on. So, know your terrain. Again, if you're here, if you're up in the mountains, I know you can't exactly, if you're going to go on an elk hunt and live here in North Carolina, practice climbing, 10,000 feet, with the elevation and the terrain necessarily. But hey, if you've got a treadmill or something, you crank that thing up to 10-15%, get one of the $25-$30 elevation masks that restricts some of your breathing. And, for a couple times a week, you do a 45-minute, 2-mile-an-hour pace walk. And it's just going to start to prep your body. Know your elements, know what you're getting into. Again, making sure you're thinking ahead to be able to pack proper wear and, attempt to wear that stuff. Now, that doesn't mean put on your 5-layer parka in the middle of summer and go out and sweat to death. That's not what I mean. But what I was saying about tying it in, actually use the pack that you're going to take. I highly recommend investing into a good pack. Heck, I still use my old military Alice pack. It's a great frame. It's not broken. Don't fix it. But Badlands makes some good packs. Mystic Ranch, just do your research, find a good pack. If you're on the camping side, this is even great for you guys. LL Bean makes some good hiking, rucking packs, and pack that thing out for it. I know that, you may not, again, be packing out that, 1,000-pound bull elk, but it doesn't hurt to prepare for that. And I have friends that'll go deep into state game lands. That's the thing too. People don't want to hunt state game lands, but they're only going a mile off, the parking, and they're like, "Oh, I saw a guy, and you could tell the area was beat, and that was it." I was like, "Well, you didn't go far enough. You can go 20 miles back into some of these game lands." So being able to get 10 miles back in there, harvest even a whitetail, quarter it out in the field, and pack it out in one go. So when I pack my pack, I put a 45-pound plate, right dead smack in the middle, close to my back, medium low, and then you're putting your socks and stuff down off to the sides, and then et cetera, et cetera. I could do a whole segment on how to, pack your kit, but make sure you're packing it with the mindset. Don't just throw stuff in a pack. Think about, order of precedence of when you would need your food, your rations, your meals, in what order, when you might need to change your socks, change your gloves, when you might need to add a layer, have room to take a layer off, and then ultimately how you can pack weight on top of it when you have that kill. And that's how you can, better practice and start getting yourself in shape. And mock those worst case scenarios, folks. Get up at 4 a.m, every couple Saturdays and go for a hike. let's say you wake up a little bit late and you're not able to have breakfast, and you're like, oh, I'll just have a meal bar when I get there. So you're rucking maybe 2-3 miles on an empty stomach. Try doing that fasted cardio, if you will. Let's say you go out on a rainy day and, you have to try to navigate footing and stuff like that. So, mock those worst case scenarios, because Newton's law, it will happen, the day that you're pursuing that big buck, that monster gobbler, that bull elk, whatever you will. So, and then nutrition's a big thing. The last thing I want to touch on. So, I'm not here to tell you to eat rabbit food 5 times a day. We all need to enjoy life and everything, but just making sure that we're feeding our bodies all the vitamins and nutrients that it needs, because, when you get back in there, you have to have the fuel to get back out. So that's just something that I always subconsciously think about, that I think not enough people, invest in. Just, hey, I'm excited, I booked this hunt, I spend all this money, and I don't think that they are fully prepared for the rigors of, that some of these, even just going down to your local state game lands and going for a hunt can entail. Because sometimes you might just go scouting on a trail, or you might see that buck, or you might hit it and wound it, and you're in for, maybe it's not the best shot, and you're in for, a several hour track through, some pretty gnarly terrain. So definitely something to just put in your little brain housing group and toss around in there, and make sure you're being productive this off season, not only prepping your deer with your food plots and your hunting strategies with your game cameras, staying busy fishing, but, take care of your body too.
I always look at it this way. It might be sunny when you walk in, but it might not be sunny when you're trying to walk out. So you definitely have to prepare for those type of, weather changes, all that stuff. And then, you made a good point with the shot placement. Hey, the deer, they always like to go to the worst places you never want to walk into. So you take a shot and it goes into that swamp. Yep, into that swamp. And, to me, you have an obligation to go out and get that, harvest it. And you want to make sure that you have the right gear. So of course you're caring for yourself and you're able to get to it and get out and whatnot. And then the whole, self-aid, making sure you have things. You might have to stay overnight. You might, hurt yourself. Hey, how do I deal with the first aid, self-aid, all that? Do I have communication? Do I have shelter? Do I have fire making? So on and on and on and on about all these things. And I think it's such a great thing that you bring this out, because it's not simply walking out in the woods, taking a rifle and going, hey, I'm going to go out there and harvest something. You might not be successful. On top of it, you might penetrate an area. You might get a little off course, and you need to know how to navigate out of there. Preparation there, you can never have enough. I was talking to my neighbor just today about, you really want to become real good at hunting. You get really good at scouting is kind of my summary.
Yeah, absolutely. And you brought up some good points that, I didn't even think to encompass. I tried to keep this. It's crazy. We go down rabbit holes, but it's like, it's not even. Yes, fitness and nutrition is one aspect of off-season preparation, but you just brought up so many good points about it's just being totally prepared. Take your GPS out with you, know how to use it. Learning and figuring out how to use, your navigational device. Well, first off, have one. I highly recommend it. If you're going anywhere, besides 100 yards down back on your parents' private farm, get it. Maybe you don't need it because you can see home, but if you're going on public land or somewhere unknown, that even if you're scouting for the first time, I highly recommend a global positioning device, because that thing just may save your life. They make EPIRB beacons as well. There's GPS can emit it. Heck, I think your cell phone, granted, if you have, cell service, but there should be some talking to the towers to be able to give you a location. Let people know where you're going is another big one. Because yes, figuring out how to work your GPS or something while you're already lost is not when to figure it out, because you're already going to be at a heightened state and your nerves are going to be a little bit shaky. So practice how you play, go out there, be prepared, have the proper fuel in your body, and make this off season a good one. We'd like to feature your success in outdoor adventures, so shoot the pics over to us with a brief story. Root16.com and select contact. That's ROOTONESIX.com and select contact.
Hey, this is Mickey G, and I just got to say I was running a little behind. I just caught the episode with the two young men with their hunting YouTube channel. I got to say congratulations. A lot of people my age have a problem and complain about the younger generation. But I got to tell you, everybody that I've met personally are extraordinary, and I feel very comfortable turning the keys of this planet over to them. And with that being said, though, I do wish you would unload the dishwasher once in a while and try returning the car with as much, if not more, fuel than when you found it in. All right, guys, boys and girls, chat you later. Have a good one. Bye.
I think there's something inside there Nikki G's saying. Want to support the show? How about becoming a Route 16 Grind Patreon today for as little as $1 a month? It's not just a contribution, but an investment that goes directly in the show. Help this podcast expand and grow. Check out the show notes for the links to our Patreon page.
The Rock, Mud, and Dirt is brought to you by Warren Industries. At Warren, we pour our effort and our thirst for adventure into every product we make. You better believe American pride runs deep here in Clackamas, Oregon. Here, a small army of engineers, technicians, machinists, and assemblers design and refine Warren products, bringing them as close to perfection as possible. Their work is backed up by legendary quality control that doesn't just stand up to rigid Warren standards, it lives up to the toughest demands of the world's top vehicle manufacturers and military suppliers. How do we know? Because they've partnered with Warren for decades. This quest for peerless reliability, this Warren difference, will be around as long as Warren Industries is in business. At least another 70 years. Go prepared. Go Warren.
Welcome to the Rock, Mud, and Dirt, the segment where I talk about people, brands, products, and events from the off-road world. This week, I had the pleasure to sit down and chat with Kevin Yow from Tops Down Jeep Club. Kevin, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you very much. Good to hear from you. I hope everything's been going well.
Yeah, man. Even though the world's on fire, I'm surviving, man. So we're doing all right here. But hey, Kevin. So for our listeners and stuff, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about yourself and Tops Down Jeep Club?
Well, several years ago, a group of us, we're kind of a transient group club, Jeep club, I would say, because down here at Hampstead, Topsail Island, Surf City, North Carolina, we have a huge amount of Jeeps. I mean, huge amount. A lot of people live here. A lot of people don't live here. They're in and out, in and out. So when the Jeep event first happened down here, when the chamber put it on, we all decided, hey, let's get us a club together. And currently, we are 456 strong.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, 456 strong. But what that is if you like Tops Down Jeep Club on the Facebook page, you've just become a member.
There you go.
We don't have dues. We don't have anything crazy, but we keep people in touch with the goings on of what's happening down here in our little coastal Jeep Club, man. And we got together, myself, my wife, Jill, Jerry Hyde, and his wife, Mary Ann. So we were basically the founding members and took off with it and have been going ever since.
Where is your, obviously you probably have a lot of members within that general area, but, you got out-of-state members, like people up north, south, east, west, or actually west?
Yeah, we've got members that claim us all the way up in to Chicago,
wow.
Upstate New York, and close by Virginia, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, but they're from everywhere. And they show up down here for vacations. We do meetups, and about once a month, especially now that season's kicking back in down here and all the tourism's rolling in. So we'll do meetups, and we'll meet at some local hot spots. Matter of fact, one of our really good friends, Jason Seamus, and over there at Shuckin' Shack, was one of our huge supporters. So we get together over Shuckin' Shack.
That's a nice place.
Crab Pot.
Yeah, that's a nice place.
Fantastic place. The Crab Pot over here, Brian and Kelly Wheels, more Jeepers. They've got just reopened, took over that place and have made a really good place to hang out, live music and all kinds of good stuff, man. So that's what we do. We may not have the same people every month. It's just people show up.
That is great. I love that. Now, you and your club, and you kind of talked about it briefly, but you and your club have been huge supporters of Topsail Island Jeep Week. And just recently, we reported that event will no longer happen. But Topsail Jeep Club said not on their watch. You all are stepping up to make it happen. So tell us about how that's going to go, how that happened, how you took ownership, and what you're going to do with that.
Well, previously, I was actually on the Chamber of Commerce, actually on the board and executive board, and it was my pet project, myself and Chuck Strickland, who was with the Chamber as well.
I remember Chuck.
Fellow Jeeper. Yeah, well, hey, man, bad thing happened. Chuck got smacked in the side and his Jeep got totaled. So he's kind of back in the market. He'll be Jeeping again here fairly soon, I hope. But when the Chamber decided they wasn't going to do it, our Jeep Club kind of sat back. We took a look at it. I started getting emails because everybody remembers me from Jeep Week.
Right.
Everybody that attended, I talked to them, I spoke to them, and we kept it going. So our Jeep Club, we sat down, and I said, guys, let me ask you a question, and girls, let me ask you a question. This whole thing with the Chamber, not going to continue Jeep Week. We're getting people hitting us up on our page about what's happening. What do y'all feel about it? Do you want to do it? So we sat down. We did some investigating. I reached out to our sponsors that we had prior to National Dodge Jeep, National Off Road. Man, they jumped right back on the wagon with us.
Good people.
They said, yeah, we're in it. Y'all did it before. I mean, even with the Chamber, the Jeep Club and its members are the ones, we built the courses, we operated the courses, we manned everything, and the staff from the Chamber, naturally, because they help handle all the paperwork and stuff. But we said, we can't let this go. This is year 5.
Right.
And we just can't let it go away. It's too many good people. But we really wanted to do what we've always done, but the one thing, we can't offer a beach ride this year. I know it was a great thing, it was a fantastic thing, but all the towns are doing their beach revitalization from the recovery from the hurricane, so we can't do the beach ride. So instead, we're really going to pump it up. Matter of fact, September 18 to 19. It's a Friday, Saturday this time instead of a Friday, Saturday, Sunday kind of deal, because people said we didn't get enough of the obstacle course because we had to drive home on Sunday. We're going to do the obstacle course on Saturday the 19th. We're pairing up with the VFW over here, our local post. They helped us last year. So we're pairing up with the VFW. The VFW is going to do food and cooking and stuff. They're going to help us.
Wow.
They're going to host it for us at their event. Here's the really good thing about it, man. That weekend, like I said, September 18 and 19, is going to be all about helping to provide for our service members and our veterans that have given it all, and sometimes they need help. So that's what we're doing for. Plus, our Jeep Club, every year around Christmas, we do a big fund drive to put money together for, we don't call them needy families, we call them needful families, families that need fulfillment. So we help to feed as many families as we can that we get through the counselors of the school systems, so we know they're legit. So everything that we make goes right back into the community.
It's amazing. I've been out there, obviously, a couple of years ago. I was blown away by the hospitality, the enthusiasm, the general support. Bring your kids. This is something definitely you want them to experience as well. If you're getting new, and something I kind of talked about last week during this segment about, hey, finding out where to meet. If you're kind of new to the off-roading, or if you're thinking about getting into it, this is a great event. I will tell you though, this obstacle course, you better maybe let some of the beasts go at it first so you can judge it. This is not for the faint-hearted. You really got to know what line you're going to pick, and maybe I won't do that. I'm not really structured for that. It looks cool to do some of them, but they got a big crane to pull you out, and it's a big crane. And I saw a lot of carnage.
Here's the fun part now.
Yeah.
The same group of guys. We have an amazing safety crew. These guys are a bunch of retired and ex-Marines.
A former Marine.
Jeremiah,
we say former Marine.
Fantastic. Marines.
We say
They're
former Marine. Yeah, we're never ex.
Well, never ex, but always in the blood, no doubt. But Carlos Jeremiah and his crew, they've been through all the Jeep recovery classes. They've been through the rollover upright classes. They've been through everything. They know how to guide even the most basic, never even had their Jeep in four-wheel drive, got 30-day tags on it kind of people, man. We have a turnout lane. If you don't want to do it, you just drive past it.
Right.
No shame. But we do call it the lane of shame.
Of course.
And you might get heckled a little bit, but you know what?
You're going to be able to drive home.
Wait, just remember, stupid, you got to drive it home.
Obviously I've been to a lot of events like this. I will tell you, let's go ahead and walk the dog on. Maybe you don't have to give all your secrets up about what you're going to do with that O course, but some of the ones that, you happen every time, maybe you can talk about, let people know some of the things that are a little bit unique with this one, because I've gone to other events where they'll have some kind of neat things and up and downs, but you know what? There's a couple obstacles here I only see there at Topsail Island Jeep Week.
Oh yeah, man. We roll out there, and most of the design comes from my sick little mind. I love off-roading, and I love kind of pushing things to the limit, but at the same time, you got to make sure that it's safe, because we have to have liability policy, as my insurance company just doesn't want anything terribly crazy, but They don't come out there and check it. Last year, just as an example, the last one we did, we had basically a straight line mud pit. The first mud pit was for the grocery getters, the ones that just want to get it a little bit muddy.
Right.
Then it rolled up onto a plateau, and then it went into a deeper hole that gradually got deeper, and it had some off-camber pitches in it.
Oh,
so it was pretty crazy. You had to know how to drive. Once you got in it, you better stay in the throttle. But we had Clay Meadows. We had Clay, a real good Jeeper, good friend of ours, and he had his excavator out there, and he was busy. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I tell you, go ahead. I'm sorry.
This year, we're going to have definitely mud again, because the spectators get a kick out of watching it.
Yes.
So this year, the mud pit is going to be shaped like a curling snake.
Oh, wow.
It's going to be weavy. It's going to have lefts and rights. It's going to have some off-camber pitches in it. So when you're going in it, you're not just driving straight.
Oh, man, that's a challenge right there. Oh, my goodness.
That's a challenge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But there'll be turnouts. There'll be a way for if you think you're getting in too deep and you want to scoot out, you're more than welcome to, but you're probably going to get heckled. So it is what it is. We're going to have, last year, I had this thing called a floating logs, and we had power poles that were the first one, the middle one, and the last one were pinned in place with giant lag bolts and attached down to the ground so they wouldn't move. But the logs in between it would shift under your wheels. As you were going over, they were going forward or backwards, depending on what you were doing. So that was a challenge to a lot of Jeepers, because they've never rolled on anything like that before. So we're going to reintroduce something similar. It's probably going to have a twist to it as well. Off-camber heels, we had the double humps last year, which were really cool. A TJ driver, myself, built them, And let's just say a lot of JK and JKUs got hung up on top because of their long wheelbases.
Yeah, I can't see why you would do that.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like I said, my sick little mind.
What about those LJs, man? What about those LJs now? Would they make it through?
Maybe. if you know how to drive it. But what was cool is that there was a couple of different lines that you could take on it. If you wanted to go left, you would get kind of about a 15, 18 degree angle pitch where you went up around a curve on it and then came back down. And the longer wheelbases did fine on that.
Right.
But they wanted to go up and over, and a lot of them kind of got up but didn't get over. But it's going to be a big time. We'll have all kinds of new things. We had the balance beam was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Most people can't keep two of the wheels on the same side of their Jeep on top of a 6-inch wide beam. So that was a challenge for a lot of people. But our spotters were out there to help guide people over. So it's a truly safe, and it's a good event because people learn things at it.
Right. And there will be people out there to help you. Just, I know Kevin will probably say that too.
Oh, yeah.
There are people, if you're like, hey, get in the crowd, start talking to people, because I'll tell you what, the real experienced drivers, they're really not the ones just jumping in. They're going to watch a couple of these, younger guys with full throttle go through and okay. And they're going to figure some of those camber places and all that. So get with those guys really looking. And so it's a great place, again, to kind of meet some people and all that. So I got a question for you. What is the most surprising vehicle that went through some of those challenging? You're like, man, that thing ain't gonna make it, and it ended up making it. What is that vehicle?
Man, I kid you not, and I'm not going to call her out, but it was funny. There's a friend of ours that's a Jeep Club member, and she came out there in a really nice Grand Cherokee.
Uh-huh.
I'm talking about. I think she had a loaf of bread and a gallon of milk in the back, but. She came out there and, took it through the deep section.
Right.
Like a beast,
That's awesome.
Got stuck. Clay had to pull her out. She got it fired up and finished the rest of the course and had a good time. But I think my favorite one was a little Comanche.
Okay.
Had been... brought his little Jeep Comanche out there, man, and it was lifted up and stuff, little 4-banger under the hood, and he just puddled through it like it was nothing.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was classic. Now our buddy Steve Connerly, Steve,
Yes.
got the Raging Green.
Yes. It's
Super Jeep.
Yep. All throttle, turbocharger.
All throttle.
Yeah,
every bit of it. He's coming out, and he has started a new fabrication company, and is doing all kinds of custom fabrication. He's going to bring his rig out, and he's going to be helping provide our recovery this year.
Oh wow!
So
he'll probably do it.
Not going to be able to be here,
but
okay. But
you say he wasn't going to be there this year?
Clay's not going to be able to make it. He's running that big monster motor Jeep that he's got.
Right. Yeah, that thing
is. He can't make it, but Steve's going to be out there helping us.
Okay.
And, the guys from the VFW are going to be running everything up top while we're handling things down below. So it's just going to be it's an absolutely all around fantastic event. I mean, what better way to spend, a weekend, September 18th and 19th, especially, now here's the key. I got to throw this out there too, because of COVID.
Right.
What we're going to do, we're not going to start taking registrations at this time because we're liable to have to refund the money if we have to cancel. So the people need to just go to Tops Down Jeep Club on Facebook. Like us on there. This is how you get your invitation. What we will do is we're going to put out, I'm probably just going to create a group, and it will put out, and you will get a reservation to attend. Then, once we say we're on the go, then we'll start collecting your money for this.
That's smart, man. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, because it sucks to have to refund
right.
money, man.
You got to hold. Yeah, I know,
like,
dude. Yeah.
I don't like having to give money back, but at the same time, but we're really going to roll it out. We've got to build the obstacle course no matter what. I'm probably going to start it later than normal because it costs a lot of money to rent that equipment and run it.
Right.
But we're still going to – our plans are to go. Our plans are to make it happen. The Crab Pot is a key sponsor. Shuck and Shack is a key sponsor. National Dodge is the big dog sponsor.
Yeah, they're a professional
to help
bunch.
Us out. Very professional group.
Yeah,
very very professional group. This is unusual. One of our Jeep Club members, his neighbor, saw his Jeep and had heard about our Jeep events. Went and bought a Jeep. Comes back home and he says, "Now, are y'all going to do your Jeep event?" And he said, "Yeah, we are. It's called the Tops Down Jeep Club Invitational is what we're calling it." He said, "Yeah, we're going to do it." He said, "Good. I want to help sponsor it." He owns a cybersecurity company.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he just went and bought a Jeep so he could go to our Jeep event.
You know what? But that's the great thing about, all these things that we do. There's a connection. You meet so many wonderful people while you're in the off-road community, the Jeep community, the wonderful things you're doing, you're focused on to raise money for, the things you do throughout the year, the connections because think about this with events like this too. You meet people who have never ever done anything with their rig and don't realize what it can do. And they can go out and they get the confidence, they get the assistance. It's safe. Hey, if you run into a problem, someone can help you out. Like this is one of those things that absolutely, if you're thinking about, I'd like to get an off-road, and this is a good event. You can connect with people. And if there's something like, I'm not too sure, I'm not ready yet. Hey, you know what? It's too easy to say, I'll just take this out, whatever. And everything is done in a positive way. It's not like you're going to be heckled and followed and stuff. It's just all in good fun kind of thing. And I tell you, I enjoyed.
Have to admit,
what's up?
I was a bad influence last year because one of our Jeep Club members, fresh to the game, and she had never in her life in any vehicle ever cut a donut in the middle of an empty dirt field.
Oh, wow. That's like, hey, you got to do it.
Yeah. So I taught her how to do donuts in her Jeep. And basically she just sat out there and cut circles for about 10 minutes. So it was pretty cool.
You know what? And then when it snows, it's like, I'm going to go find me a parking lot.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man, and we really appreciate Route 16 for what you guys have done with us in the past, and I hope continue in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I cannot say enough, folks. This is an event. This was one of the first events that I really attached myself to, the brand to, when I first started this brand.
You did.
And I mean, it is wonderful. There's so many people that I still communicate. I'm talking not like 5 or 6. I'm talking hundreds of people that I have communicated with, connected with. I see at other events. We get together, and these are the times where I meet them. I see, hey, what's up? I haven't seen them since the last event or whatever. It is I don't know. It's like a family gathering in many aspects. If this is something that you're thinking about doing, I tell you right now, pull the trigger, go like Tops Down Jeep Club, get in the know. We'll put the stuff in the show notes. Now, do you guys have Instagram, all that kind of stuff? Where else can they find you?
I do not have Instagram set up for it yet, but I am going to set Instagram up on it. Just the main thing right now is Tops Down Jeep Club on Facebook.
Okay.
We've got all kinds of other promotions. We're looking. We are going to get our 501c3, which the VFW is, so that makes it easy for us to partner with them. But we'll be building our own websites and all this other stuff going in the future because I don't know if I actually own half of a software programming company, and my IT guy will be building a website here real soon. He hasn't he hadn't found that out yet.
Yeah. Well, that's funny, man.
We'll be rolling it out as soon as we can, but right now we're just focusing on staying in the know, trying to keep up with government to make sure we can make this thing happen. We're planning just lots of stuff to make it. We're doing everything we can.
Right.
So,
and I know there's so many people that appreciate that too, because I'll tell you what, I know there's an eagerness to get people to get together. Wherever you sit on the fence with the COVID thing and whatnot, I can say that definitely, we definitely need to come together more than ever right now in so many different ways. And one connection that we have is, hey, you know what? We off-road, we're Jeepers. Let's get together, be positive, integrate, laugh, and all that stuff, and have a good day, and help some people that we can help.
Absolutely, man. I know. I've been, with my other work. I've been busy, but at the same time, just not being able to socially network. We got together with our Jeep group the other night and did ribs and everything here at the house. I had 5 or 6 Jeeps parked in my front yard. So,
right.
But just being able to get out with like-minded people and associate. Jeepers, we're a tight group, buddy.
We are. We are. For sure.
Very tight group.
Well, hey, Kevin, I really appreciate you coming on. You and I, obviously, we chat off and on here and there. I appreciate coming on. And as we get closer to the event, you guys are welcome back anytime. If you want to just send an update, I'll put it in the show, whatever you need to help you support this event. Thank you for your time and everything that you guys do for the community. My best to the club. Yeah.
Hey, tell everybody, just remember, September 18 and 19, Topstown Jeep Club Invitational. Get it on Facebook. Check us out. Like us. We'll send out an invitation. We won't be able to take all 456 or 500, whatever it ends up, but we're going to have to limit it to a number that we have not decided yet. So when I say go, pull the trigger. It's the best $60 you will spend, because we're doing it on the cheap this year.
Oh, it's worth it.
$60
Absolutely,
to
it's worth
register is cheap.
Yep, worth it. Compared to some other places I've gone to where the money is not going into people that actually need it, for what you guys do, yeah, absolutely worth it. Good cause, have fun, hang out with some good people, and support a community.
Yeah, and maybe I'll have something to raffle off. I'm not really sure yet. One of my sponsors said they might give me something to raffle. I'm not sure if he's going to
I know somebody that might have something. You know that. You definitely will get something from Route 16 for sure. So
I
absolutely.
hear you, brother. I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Hey, Kevin, thank you so much, man. Best of you in the club.
Thank you. Have a great day. Appreciate it.
Go Adventure! All right, welcome back to the Go Adventuring segment. This week we have professional survivalist, hunter, guide, outdoor adventure, and straight up badass lady, season 6 alone contestant, Michelle Ann Wohlberge. Michelle, thank you so much for finding the time to join us here at the Route 16 Grind.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, man. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about yourself and how you became such an adventurous outdoor enthusiast?
Well, I kind of have a long story, but to make it fit for radio, let's just go with I grew up, rough and tumble. I was always outdoors hunting and fishing, and I got that from my dad and my grandma, my grandpa, like a long line of people, like outdoorsy people. And I kind of found it was just easier to be myself out in the wild than it was being around people. So some of my earliest memories are just me out being ice fishing out in the cold, all bundled up and hands freezing and looking for your next fish, right? Like,
yes, that's awesome.
What I did. Yeah, pulling muskrats from traps and walking a trap line. And, the snow would be so deep on me, it'd be up to my waist and I'd be plowing my way through, Wouldn't follow my dad. I had to walk beside him, It would have been easier if I would have followed, but I'm not a follower. I like to blaze my own trail for sure. Oh
my goodness, that is so awesome. So what motivated you to try out for the History Channel's Alone series? Well, I was crazy, first of all. No doubt. I mean, for me, I'd be like, okay, do I want to put myself out there? Like, am I ready for this? I could imagine all the questions that you'd be going through in order to just even submit yourself to this opportunity. Yeah. So I had multiple people tell me about the television show, and I had moved out of country a bunch of years ago, like way back in 2007. I'd moved out of Canada and I moved down to Central America for a couple of years with my husband. And we sold all of our earthly possessions before we left. I kept my car and one or two things, and that was it, left it in Canada. So like the TV, everything was gone.
And I never owned a TV since then. And so I don't watch television. And so the concept of reality TV, I've kind of missed that whole boat.
Right.
And so people were like, hey, Michelle, you got to go on that show. Like, have you seen it? And I'm like, no, I don't have time for television. Are you kidding me? And so, but multiple people came to me and said, like, you really need to watch this show. You're going to love it. And you should apply to be on it. And I was like, yeah, I should apply to be on a television show. Like, who do you think I am? You know, that's not. So I watched the show.
It sounds sketchy.
Oh yeah. Like, I am not the reality television contestants people seem to think I am. So I watched the TV show. I watched one season. I watched part of the second season. Right. I find it on my computer. My husband sets me up because I'm technologically a Neanderthal, you know, not up to date on that sort of stuff at all. It's my husband's gig. And I watch it, and I watch 2 episodes of the second season, and I look at my husband, and he's looking at me, and he's just looking at me. He already knows. And I'm like, do you think I should apply to be on that show? And he's like, honey, like, yes, obviously.
Right. Right. And, you know, I'll tell you this, like, I totally understand the whole TV thing until, like, when I was in the Marine Corps, I didn't have a TV ever until I had a roommate. Then I was like, okay, I guess we'll get one because he's going to be living here too. And he was my roommate got out of the Marines. I'm just not a big TV guy. But, you know, let's walk back a little bit. So you went from Canada, the cold, you know, Arctic, and you went to Central America. That's quite a transition. I spent time actually in Honduras. I was at the embassy there for a few years, and it is a wonderful place to go explore and everything. So that's quite a transition there. So, Michelle, going from playing in the boreal forest in northern Saskatchewan down to the jungles of Panama. Let me tell you, I am not a heat person. Like right now, it's probably 23 degrees Celsius, I guess. Fahrenheit, you know, that conversion, we'll figure that out. People can look it up. It's hot for me. They got the internet, right?
Yeah. I mean, whatever. It's hot.
Yeah.
And it can get hotter still. But I am like, people are coming in with fish for me to clean today. And I'm just like, I'm going to be out on the pontoon boat in the bay and you can come and find me. I'm not doing well in the heat. I would take minus 40, which is water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius. So it's minus 40 degrees below that. And I'm happy. I am outside. I'm riding my snowmobile. I'm doing catwalks on the ice. I'm hauling in supplies up to a camp. That's my element. And so I go down to Panama and suddenly I'm in this city of however many people live in Panama, like 1.1 million at the time or whatever it was. You know, it was a culture shock and it was a heat shock. And I was like, what am I doing here?
Yeah, it's probably so much more busier. So so I truly understand this. So you were in Panama when you applied for this, or were you already back home?
Sorry. No, I had just, that was kind of, I went down to Panama in 2007 and I applied to be on the show in probably 2016-ish.
Oh,
I made the show in 2018. Yep.
Because I was just thinking, like, gosh, you went from cold to hot, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go survive in the Arctic. I'm like, holy cow! So that just brings up a good question. What did you do to prepare, for this? And on top of it, how did you prepare your family for this?
Oh, I mean, you have to be. I'm gonna say, like, for myself, you know, looking back now to even applying to be on it, you have to be kind of a little crazy because you see the suffering that people go through. You see their highs and lows, right? And anybody who's like, oh, that's a piece of cake, like they ain't living out in the wild.
Right.
You know, they don't necessarily know what it's like to be dropped off in a location you've never seen or done before. So anyway, you have to be a little bit, you have to be crazy. You got to be on the ball and you know, really want it. And then kind of egotistical too, to think that you're going to go on a reality television show that very few contestants have ever come out of it, you know, gaining weight,
right.
Not, you know what I mean? And like, they don't look necessarily like they've been eating cheeseburgers for the last, 4 months.
Right. There's survival shows and then there's a survivalist show. Yes. Yeah. I totally, I understand what you're getting at. Absolutely.
Yeah, folks. And so to think about applying, you kind of have to be on top of your game. Like you've got to, I mean, not to apply just to apply, but with like when I applied, I was like, I'll make this show. I mean, they don't tell you you're going to make the show, but after watching it, and I was like, oh, this is the thing. Like, I've been living this life. Like, this is what I want. You know, I'm going to make the show. I'm going to do whatever I can to make it. I applied, and they didn't cast me for a couple of seasons because the next season that I had applied to, it was already cast. The season after that was the redemption season where they bring back people who had already been on the show. And then they cast me in the next season because, of course, I mean, I watched it way later than what it was actually airing. So I applied, and then, you know, they kind of make you film a bunch of stuff and send it in. And some of that's all, you know, you're not really allowed to talk about how they, you know, their casting process.
Oh, yeah, totally. I'm more focused on your story. Yeah.
Industry secrets. Yeah. So, but for me to even get to that point, like, I had to hype myself up. I mean, you can't tell yourself you're going on that sort of adventure and be like, well, I plan on lasting at least a week. Like, no, man, you're going out there and you're like, I'm going to win.
Right.
There's no option, right? Like, you're like, well, I'm going to see if I can get some kind of big game and maybe find myself a fishing hole. And if everything's good, you know, maybe I'll stay. Like, heck no, you got to go out there. Like, there's one option, and it's to win.
You know, and I can tell, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I could just tell, I mean, obviously I watched that season, and just listening to you right now, the moment you saw and you were sitting on a couch with your husband way back in Panama, you have been, from that moment, you were probably preparing for, hey, I may not get on this season, but I'm going to get on. And just this drive that you have. And yeah, that is just awesome. Far as that, and bringing all this up, and you know, what about the things like you? It's for you. You're like mentally prepared. You got these skills and your game planning things. How do you what you're gonna pack and all that. But how do you put that in? Now you're a mom. I mean, you're a wife, and how do you prepare that for your family?
Oh, and I had to go through some huge changes. So, you know, I had been, you know, so. I messed up the timeline when I said, like, you know, I went down to Central America and did that. So the timeline, like, just so their viewers are clear how it works, like, I came back from Panama in 2009. And then, you know, and then I had Lars, our son, in 2013. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I applied for the show in like probably 2016. So it's quite a few years later. But in that time, I had moved out of the city. I went back. I had bought some land off my grandparents, and I started developing it. So I had like a mobile home, you know, I fenced it all. I had horses, chickens, I had guinea fowl, you know, and rabbits. I was raising meat rabbits. I was butchering birds for people, laying hens, like
homesteading, man.
I was painting houses. I was working at a personal care home as an aide and a cook. You know, I was doing everything. And my husband, he was still living in the city, because the internet connection where we live rurally, it's non-existent. He trades a stock market, so he needs internet connection. So we are together, but we have separate houses. You know, he's away working. I'm at home on the farm doing the farm work, and I have our son Lars with me full time. And my grandma's living across the road. My grandpa passed away, and grandma stayed on the farm, you know, and I drive her to town and looking after her. But now I'm going to go away on this television show, and I sign a contract that says I'll agree to live out there for up to a year before they cancel before they call the season, if we were to last that long. Yeah.
Wow.
So I had to get rid of all my animals. I had to sell them, give them away, rehome them. And I had a month's notice. Like, I had a month's notice to know when I made the TV show to when I was leaving. So you had to, like, first of all, the animals had to go. Get rid of all my animals, rehome, like a horse went to a neighbor's house. And remember, you're not allowed to tell people where you're going.
Right.
You're not allowed to tell people what you're doing.
Oh
Nobody's allowed to know that you've made the TV show. Nobody's allowed to know. You're not allowed. You sign confidentiality agreements and lawyer talk, you know, miles high.
So people are thinking like, yeah, Michelle's gone. I don't know what's going on, but she's done.
Yeah, exactly. My grandma bought the farm. Right. Because I was looking after her. I was her primary caregiver. She had to move into a care home in the city. And, you know, Lars he was going to start school at the small community school. You know, kind of had it all lined up, and like, no, now he's going to school in the city. So I missed his first day of kindergarten, his first months of kindergarten. I'm gone for the TV show. And, you know, my husband, like, the last thing I did before I'm getting on the plane, like, I made him take off our wedding band, you know, off me. Right. he's going to wear his. I said, take it off me. Like, you put it on, you're going to take it off. Like, that's it. I'm not taking it off. You take it off. So he takes off my wedding band, and he's going to, he wears it on his neck the whole time I'm gone. And from that moment, like, I got on that plane and I was like, not that my family ceases to exist to me, but like, they're not waiting for me anymore.
Right.
At the start of this. Now I changed my thinking to, they're waiting for me at the end of this.
Right.
Right. Like, when I'm finished this job, they're going to be there waiting for me. They're not waiting back home. They're waiting for me at the end when I'm done. Whether if that's, in my mind, I'm like, when I win, they're going to be there for me.
Right.
Like, that's the end. That's my end point. Right. So the whole time I was gone, I'm not worried about like, oh no, like, I'm missing Lars's first day of kindergarten. I'm missing like my grandma, like she's my mom. I'm missing my husband. Like, we've been together forever, and I'm like, no, he's going to look after everything. I trust 100% that whatever comes up, he's got, like, I'm just going to walk away from all of that right now to go and do this job that, like, I feel I was really built to do, like, this is what I've been doing my whole life. Like, let's go.
That in the Marine Corps, we call that mission focus. This is what we're focused, like that right there. I mean, I could take that and extract it, put it in an environment. That was just amazing as far as that breakdown. And, I think too is, through tough periods of life, having that type of mental focus, mission focus kind of thing, it's going to help you through. And getting to that. Now, I'm not a big TV show person, but this show just sucked me in. I turned on Netflix and I was like, what is this? Never even heard of it, never watched one season. So I just, okay, I'll watch this one. And watching each new episode is just something just resonate with, and you kind of hit on that. Now, if you're a person that's never been challenged in a similar situation, you've never been cold, tired, wet, hungry, I just don't think they'll get it. I mean, how do you explain these challenges to people? More specifically, how do you help them understand the mental and physical demands of something like this?
So, I mean, you can try, right? Like, so right. I kind of go on this spiel and I say, it took me a couple weeks to trap my first game, which means for those couple of weeks, I wasn't eating. I mean, blueberries ain't cutting it. I'm building a shelter. I'm exploring mountains. I'm slogging through some of the nastiest tundra you've ever seen. Like, if you don't know what those conditions are like it's a swamp. It's swamp, except the ground is starting to freeze, and all your gear is wet, and you ain't got no nice, cozy, dryer to put your stuff in. And if you hurt yourself, you've just lost yourself $500,000. It ain't, you better be careful. So now you go 2 weeks without eating. Now, so start today. That's what I tell people. I said, you start today and you don't eat for 2 weeks. I mean, no protein. You're never full. I mean, a couple handfuls of blueberries and whatever you can scavenge as you're hunting or fishing all day long. You're trying to find your food. There's nothing for you. You go out and build me a shelter. That's going to last. Like, the snow's coming. Winter is coming in Canada, in the subarctic. Like, where your little pole shelter ain't going to work here. You're going to need to be able to support, your structure is going to have to be able to support blizzards and high winds and ferocious storms. You're in an area you've never been before. You're in an area you don't know where anything is yet. Now you film it. And you film every single detail of your day and relinquish 100% of control of that footage. So if you're walking a new trip, guaranteed that's going to make the television show. And they're going to create a story around it because at the end of the day, it's still a reality television show. Right. They're still selling the story to people, right? So their version is, different from what I experienced. But to be honest, like, probably 90% of the stuff I filmed was complete shot. Like, they wouldn't be able to use it for anything. It's bumpy, it's jerky, it's too close, it's too far. Like, how many photos does somebody take of any one thing? 100? And they delete all 99 of them, and they're like, well, this one I kind of like, right? It's the same thing. But now, all of those things that you've just done is going to be watched by millions of people. Your best days, your worst days, when you blow a gasket, when you hurt yourself, when you're feeling emotional or moody. And in 2 weeks of not eating, let me tell you, you're going to have some mood swings.
Oh, yeah.
Like, start today, And that's why I say, I'm like, start today. That's what I want you to do. And then come and talk to me about how you're going to do better than I did.
Yeah.
And then you like these guys, these folks have never spent the night out in a wild by themselves. And I'm like, okay, we're having completely different conversations here. Like that's not the same level of what I'm talking about that I did and tried to do and continue to do with my life, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think, yeah, you just can't explain. You have to, there's some things you just have to experience. You know, I remember one of my very first patrols, when I got into the Force Recon community in the Marine Corps, I went 2 days without water, and I was so terrified to tell my team leader because I'd rather die than get his punishment. But I remembered I could feel the blood moving through my veins. And I finally, I talked to a buddy of mine. I was like, hey man, I'm out of water. He goes, me too. And we were able to, you know, swindle our way to go find some water. But I learned from that lesson, and I never, ever was run out of water ever. It could be the longest patrol ever, but there's just some things you're just going to learn. But on top of it, because of those lessons, you are so much better. I mean, if you learn from it, I should say. So speaking of that, what did you learn about yourself?
Oh, like you said, I mean, you make some of the most ridiculous mistakes, right? And you can make them a couple of times when you're not filming yourself. But all of a sudden, when you have a camera on you, you're like, oh boy, I really did that. I did that wrong. And you're like, oh no, that's going to make the TV show. It sounds really bad, but it really makes you self-aware of what you're doing, you know? Like the whole time when I was out there, I really, I didn't cut myself. I didn't hurt myself, you know? And, you know, before that, I wouldn't say that I was necessarily a klutzy person, but there was times where maybe I would wipe out or do something. And now I don't cut myself with knives. You know, I've always have a fillet knife in my hand. I'm always gutting big game, moose or ram or whatever, you know, like I've always got my hands bloody and doing something. And I never cut myself. And then it's not to be like, I'm not bragging, but what happened when I had to self-film myself, I realized how many mistakes I was making that could cost me all of that stuff I had prepared to do for this television show, you know, like, and so it made me realize, like, I guess that translates to, I had to grow so much more as a person filming myself that I don't think I ever would have got it if I hadn't seen it firsthand of what I was doing, like filming myself all the time. And then that's also like how much compassion I have for the other folks who've been on this show, who are going forward in this show. And also even maybe for some people who are actually truly famous, like movie stars, you know?
Right.
I'm not one of those, you know, I'm not really famous. Like I did a cool thing, but it's not like on their level, and I'm not going to pretend it is, but so much more sympathy. I don't know if that's the right word, or just understanding about how when that camera is always in front of you and you say one dumb thing or you do one dumb thing, it's now forever.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I didn't know that before. I did. I'm not dumb, but I didn't really understand it on a personal level like I do now.
Yeah, you know, and I tell you, like, you're being able to look at yourself in those areas versus someone telling you, you know, because plenty of people go to, in fact, you run a survival brand, but, you know, plenty of people go to survival training, they go to things, you know, like, you know, I've experienced that, but it's so different if you're able to watch yourself and you're doing those things versus someone saying, okay, you did this, you did that. Because, you know what, some of that's you can go in, but it's not going to have the same effect. And you are your worst critique, especially if you are that professional, which you are. You want to do everything the right way. How can I get better? And you're always looking to get better. So I can imagine the levels of critique that you had versus someone else, you know, come in and say, no, you didn't do too bad. Whereas you're like, oh, I could have did this better, that better, and everything else. So that right there, I mean, it's just that I have so much empathy for all y'all. Cause I mean, like I said earlier, I just don't think people who have ever been in those situations really can resonate, can look at, hey, well, you got game in the first hour. No, that was like you saying that was the first 2 weeks. I was like, no, I thought that was about at least season, like episode 2, you were good. Right. But, you know, but like, yeah, it's, yeah. So I do. One of the big things that I've really enjoyed about watching you, you absolutely you exude confidence. And I mean, I agree. Yeah, you're going to have an arrogant, a little bit of arrogance. You're going to have to, and I kind of get that. I didn't see that as something negative. It's just that, hey, I am super focused and everything else. And you know, what happened and everything else. But I think you did a phenomenal job, and I think that anyone that watches that show can absolutely dial on you and really do a little bit of self-awareness and learn from you as well. So I you say you're not a movie star. I think you're absolutely someone can at least, look at and for good reason, learn from and all that. So I want to shift gears a little bit. So what day was given this entire miserable experience, and, I got no food and, my stuff's wet, but, I know the one thing that just from my own experiences, and I'm not comparing them at all, but I just know that some days the most miserable day can be the happiest day, just the way it plays out. But what day for you was the most fun? And even if it didn't make the cut far as the show, but what was that memory that, you just kind of look back, laugh at, whatever, that you could share with us?
Yes. I mean, like you said, so many. I mean, I was out there for 47 days, I think. It's, whatever it is, what it is. But it gets condensed down to 1 hour. So much of what I did just never gets shown. Like I built a boat and I'd be paddling it around out there with no clothes on because I didn't want to fall in and get wet and be hypothermic. I was like, I could get to shore and build, I've got a fire going and stuff. And like, I did a lot of cool stuff that it never ever fit the storyline that they had to tell, and right. So you're always sad about that. And even my, so many things, but there was one day when I got myself I got quite a few pieces of game. Chicken, rabbits, and squirrels and stuff. And I think they only ever show me maybe getting one or two. I don't know. But again, that's just part of the story that they have to build. But and time wise, right? That's the show. But anyway, this one day I got this chicken and I had already eaten, I already got another chicken in store. So I've got more food than I can eat, right? Your stomach is shrunken down to nothing. I can eat one chicken leg off of a spruce grouse and you're full, when you make it into a broth. And so I make this broth and my shelter's all done. I've got it all clayed up in the inside, recovered from this little mini fire I had and all that crap that went down. So my shelter's super hot. It's small. It holds its heat amazingly well. And I'm like, man, I am dirty. I stink. Every animal in this forest can smell me. My hair is starting to hang in shredded tangles, I'm looking rough. You can see yourself on the camera, and I'm like, that's not going to make the cut because I look like the backside of a donkey. And I smell like one too. And so I was like, why am I living like this? And I'm like, I know better than this. Michelle, come on. And so I go out, I wash out my pot, I bring it in, I heat it up on my little fireplace. I strip down, I cut, one of my socks had burnt in the fire. So I cut it in half with my Leatherman. And, now I have a scrub brush, right? It's like a wool sock. So it's scrubby. It's going to scrub off this grime from weeks of living out in the bush, right? Just surviving. You're right. Every day you're busting your hump trying to get stuff done, right? So I go out there, get my water heated up. I'm in my shelter. I strip right down. It's snowing outside, right? It's snowing. It's below zero. The ground's freezing up. The little bay in front of me, it's all getting all iced over. You can hear the ice tinkling and I strip right down and I have a bath. And I had made a little soap out of some soap berries and some spruce needles and some fat from one of the animals I rendered down. I got myself a nice little lather and I washed my hair. And you're going to be like, well, that's kind of princess of you, isn't it? But that was the first day really that I was like, oh man, this is normal now. Now it's I'm having a bath. My shelter's nice and warm. I'm sitting there, naked in my shelter. It's snowing and freezing outside and I'm warm. My hair is drying by the fire. And I'm like, this is what I wanted this to be. I want them to show this. And I didn't really watch the show because their version's different than what mine is. And I didn't want watching myself on the big screen change how I perceived my experience. But I was just like, I really want them to show this, me sitting here in my smoky shelter, just man, this is great. I'm full, I'm clean, I smell clean, my hair is drying, my nails look good, not they're fancy, but I mean they don't have that grime under there that you can't, your fingertips hurt,
right?
Because you got build up underneath of your fingernails from clawing through the wood looking for grubs to put on a hook, like a bear does. And I was just so content. I was just so happy for much of my experience there. and like those evenings. So like then I started a routine where it was like every 3 or 4 days I'd strip right down and I'd scrub myself clean. And so it was just like this really nice, relaxing and rewarding experience where you're just living out there. You're not surviving. If you're at a place where you can get clean and you can dry yourself off comfortably and there's snow piling up around your shelter, you're living there now. You're not just surviving, and it changes the way you start to think and how you act. You're not fighting nature. You're just there now. You're just part of it.
It's maintaining that dignity that helps the mental state so much. I mean, because you're trying not to just become an animal. You're really trying to keep, the human self of you, if you will. Yes, you need to go out there, you need to hunt, but it's that whole mindset and just doing that and getting that dignity and stuff. Oh, hey, I gotta wash my face. It's, the priorities of work too, having that mental game to say, hey, every 3 days I need to do this. Now you have a task, something that kind of keeps you busy and it helps you and it just helps that confidence and stuff. Like I'm pretty sure they didn't show that, but I tell you what, when I absorbed all that, and I hope our listeners do, because I just remember when I went through military survival school, and I'm not comparing it to your experience whatsoever. I didn't spend 40 days in the bush like that. Let alone in the Arctic zone. But, they mentioned that guys that were POWs were talking about, hey, if you can wash your face, like little things just to kind of keep your that whole dignity and remember, like you're here to freaking survive and maintain yourself. That, like, just guys talking about the simple thing, being able to wash their hands and listening to your story just resonated some of those things I learned many years ago. And, and that's something that you assigned yourself. You realize, hey, whoa, what are you doing? That is just awesome. And again, I mean, I really feel like experiences like this, like my son, I got him in a hunt and stuff like that. Like I told him, I cannot wait to be miserable with you. And he's yet to understand that, because I told him, man, you're going to realize there's nothing in life you can do. Because these experiences, when someone says, oh my God, I had a rough day, you just don't take them seriously sometimes. You're just like, what? Dude, so these experiences are just really just amazing. And you kind of help people get into the experience. So tell us a little about your brand, Legacy Survival Training.
Yeah. So Legacy Survival Training, I named it such because legacy is the things that we leave behind. What is going to be your story that you leave behind? What are you leaving behind? What have you learned?
That's awesome.
What have you taught other people? And survival training isn't just about going out in the world or like in the woods and just being like, I'm going to build me a badass lean-to. Like, oh yeah, I got this. No, it's how do you take the training that you learned from being in the woods and translate it to your everyday life? So how do you go watching game out on a mountainside and put that into a boardroom meeting? Because I've done both of those things. I've worked in right, in high-powered suits and stiletto heels. And those things, they translate into your everyday life. That confidence of like, I might not know what I'm doing exactly. I'm not the most skilled contestant out here. I'm not even I don't even rank halfway with the skills and sets of these folks that are on this show with me. And even my season, like I'm not nowhere near as trained or as good as they are, like nowhere near. But what I had was just the belief in myself. Like nobody's going to do it if you don't.
Right.
For yourself, right? Like nobody cares. If you don't make it, who cares? Really nobody, And like it sounds like a tough talk or whatever, but you've got to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to. Right? Like you have to, man. If I can't, like you said, I'm not military. I'm not married to military. In Canada, it's not as as common, say in the US, where so many people have military family, and not to say we don't have military here, but it's not as common, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but
no, you're good. I work with your guys up there. Actually, I was up in Toronto helping them out many years ago. So, I mean, I totally understand what you're getting at. It's just not something that's dominant in your culture as an American culture.
As it is an American. And so I have so much respect for everybody who does it and, and all of that. But you guys know, Like if you go out, I'm sure if you go out on tour with somebody and they're like, oh man, we're going to get shot at today. Like what happens if I die? And you're like, fuck man, like, sorry. You're like, dude, no, like, hey, we are going to go out there and we're going to kick some butt today.
Yes.
You know, we're in this together. We got this. Like we are a team. You have to have it in yourself. You know, like you have to believe every day that what you're doing is right and good and that you're doing the absolute best you can. Right.
Right.
You know, like, because if you don't, like, that person falls apart. And then when they fall apart, it's no good.
It's a domino effect. It literally is. What you just said is so true. When one falls or one loses that, it's a domino effect in those challenging situations. I mean, Michelle, I'm totally off script here, but you really should look at becoming a public speaker, man. I mean, everything that you're saying, I'm telling you right now, everything that you are sharing with me, I've heard from, I was in the special operations community in the Marine Corps, the Force Reconnaissance. I've heard from all throughout my career in different aspects from experience, season, but it's just that mental fitness that you have and that self-drive that you have. It's so critical in the most challenging situation. Just like you said, whether it's out in the bush or it's in the boardroom, I mean, no one's going to do it. No one's going to care. You got to do it and you got to care. And it is just, man, I love what you're doing there. Love it. Right.
Yeah. So that's what I'm teaching. And I do a couple events where, people have me come in and talk to some folks and some ladies retreats, and stuff like that lined up. And I wasn't expecting necessarily to become super reliant on that aspect of the business. Most of my bread and butter comes from guiding, and being out in the woods. But then folks come and hang out with me for a little while on a hunt. And then they're just like, hey, that's really cool. I learned a lot of stuff from you. I learned something here that I've never learned on any other hunt in the world. And then they need something to follow. They need to go like, where do I find you again? You know, and so I started up this business going, it's not just about like me putting on classes and like filling seats. It's like life lessons, like real life experiences. Like I am not perfect. I am not the best at any one thing. I'm not the experts on any one thing. I just really, really want to live. I really want other people to live and work. I guess that sounds bad, but when you have to work and you have to build a community, there's not so much division, right? It's not us versus them. It's us and them, and if you have to help carry somebody else's load for a while because they just can't carry it anymore. Like you pick that shit up off the ground and you put it on your back and you carry it for how much that person needs, and then you let them pick it back up when they've got their breath back, like build up your community, like be strong, come together and share the skills. I don't have to be paid for somebody to come and to come and learn from me. It just turns out that I work full time now as a guide, and I'm traveling all over Canada doing hunts and fishing and stuff like that. And so it's just about passing that knowledge on to other people as they come along. Just survival isn't just about being in the bush. It's about living your life the best way you can and going in with the confidence and knowledge to know, like, I'm not the best at it, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do the best that I can. And that sounds really elementary, except it's not.
No, I totally dig it. Like, two things I talked with my youngest son about is you never stop learning, and knowledge is useless unless you're able to share it. Because if whatever if you take it with you, then, think of how many other people it could have helped and how they could have grown and shared that information. So yeah, that's awesome. And I have been on your Instagram and I follow you and I've seen the hunts and just the happiness that are going on there. And I love that you shared the fact that it's not just, hey, I'm going to track this game. Okay. Hey, there it is. I take a shot. Okay. We'll wrap it up and cut it up and let's get going. But there's all these lessons, and that entire journey is I loved it when I was an instructor, because I was like, you see out here, it's a 360-degree classroom, and I totally utilized that. And I just love that it sounds like you're doing the same thing, a total different aspect, but you're teaching the entire time, and I can just see that. Now, as far as hunts and fishing adventures, what are your favorites and why?
Oh, like stories, you mean, or places I'm working?
Hey, this game, like, hey, I really enjoy this game. Like, I'll give you an example. I never turkey hunted in my life until last year. I just got back into hunting last year, like straight up. I went on a pheasant. For decades I didn't hunt, and I was in the Marine Corps and just, whatever. But I got back into it and pheasant hunt. Then I went on turkey hunt and I heard one gobble. That's all it took. We didn't get game that day. A whole year I prepared, and I got a turkey this year. And in fact, I'm looking at the fan right now. And, like there's just, it is such, and people are like, oh man, I see those things running around all the time. You have no idea, because the rules when getting them are different than, some other game. You don't bait them, and then getting that gobble, getting them to come in close, and, you're using a shotgun. It's something about that game I so enjoy. It is a true, it's a true challenge in so many ways. And then far as fish, gosh, there's so many great fish out there. I like bluegill. I'll be honest with you. They got a good bite. Like they put a little, for that little fish, it puts a pretty good little fight, and it's kind of fun, and you just give them away and just to bend the pole kind of thing. But far as with you, what are those things that really energize, like, just a certain game you enjoy stalking because it's just so knowledgeable and it's territory, it's hard to find, whatever it may be. And then far as fish, hey, maybe it's just good to eat.
So last year I worked as a guide up in the Yukon for a company called Blackstone Outfitters, and they just do world-class hunts for, Fannin and Doll rams. They've got moose, caribou, wolves, grizzly bear, so a big run of stuff you can go hunt. And so that was the first year that I was working as a wrangler / guide for them. Did a lot of more wrangling and whatever else, but so I went on these ram hunts, and you got to saddle up and you go climb mountains, and I'm not a climb mountain. I live in Saskatchewan. It's pretty flat. Let me tell you, there are jokes about Saskatchewan being flat.
It's like the Canadian Kansas.
Yeah, really. And so now I'm in the mountains and I'm climbing and I am out of shape. So, I did the show in 2018. I go guiding in the 2019. So it's just about a year, not quite a year later. And mentally and physically, I cannot explain to you the abuse that I put myself through. It wasn't, what they show on the show wasn't exactly all that was happening. I needed 5 liters of fluid to stabilize my heart in the hospital when I left the show.
Oh, wow.
I was dehydrated from vomiting. I had a dirty. I was vomiting for 3 days, and my heart, it was a mess. And I had dead patches of skin throughout my body just from losing so much body fat. At the end, going through a refeeding program that they put you on, because if you start eating right away, you can die.
Right.
It stops your heart basically. And anyway, and then. So that's kind of the physical side of it, but mentally the whipping I took, having to go home, I was not ready to go. Didn't want to. I waited 3 days. I almost died. I did,
right. I remember that. You know what? I'll be honest with you, and I'm not saying this, and I love the fact of your thought process. And you were when you were talking to the camera and you're really talking to yourself of the breakdown is, hey, you know what? I have goals in my life. I don't want to put my body through, I totally got it. And I had so much respect, because one of the biggest things is when to know, hey, this is the right decision. And I had mad respect for you to make that call, because you know what you do, you have things that you still wanted in life and to do. And, yeah. And then off top of it, no one knew what was going on with you until I think that last part. And it was holy cow, dude. I can't even imagine.
The last week, right?
Yeah.
I really went. But it was hard on my body. The point, I got a little bit off topic there, but
no, you're good.
Mentally, I couldn't put clothes on in the morning. When I got back home, it took me a month just about a month probably to get back home after leaving the show. And I couldn't put clothes on in the morning without second guessing myself. And I'm not a fancy dresser. I'm oh, those pants I've worn for 2 weeks, I don't care. I put them on. It doesn't matter to me. I couldn't get dressed without second guessing that decision. For somebody like me, who I'm just I'm a go-getter. It takes me seconds to make up my mind to do something. I'm already doing it. And I can't decide what to wear. So now I'm going to be like a guide, right? I'm going out now, I get better. I'm working as a fish guide up at Iskwatikan Lake Lodge and helping run the camp there, worked in the winter, worked in the summer. I get out of there. I've got a job, lined up for whitetail guiding in the fall. And then this opportunity kind of comes about that I can go guiding in the Yukon. And I mean, I'm still not even myself. I'm not even a part of my confidence back. You know, my personality's still a little bit muted. I'm not totally myself. It took me a long time to recover from that whipping I took.
I understand. Yes, I did. I totally get it.
Yeah, so now I'm like climbing mountains. I'm out of shape because I had gone through all this like not even a year before. It takes you a long time to build back your muscle, right? Like a long time, you know, to build your weight and your muscle and your endurance back up after something like that. So I got my backpack on and we're hunting for rams. And, you know, and we spent the night out a couple of times. You know, you're staked out on a mountain. You're waiting for the fog to clear so you can scope across, because you got to find, you know, these rams either, you know, have to be fully mature, full curl, you know, like there's things.
Right.
Count
the rings.
Count rings on there. Yeah, count rings. You know, all these things. You can't get close enough. We've got horses, you know, and you're doing all of these things, right? And the guides are teaching me everything that I need to know, because I haven't even seen a ram like in my life, like at a zoo. Driving through Banff, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm a ram guide totally. Oh shit, no. Like, I've just spent like 6 months on a boat, so yeah. You know? And before this, I starved myself to death and lost the competition on TV. But sure, you know. And so I'm out there, I'm going for it, right? And finally, our hunter, he finds the exact ram he was looking for, like the exact ram. It was the exactly right color. It was broomed off on one side, just like he wanted and was hoping for, right? Like these guys, you know, they have these hunts specifically that they want.
Right.
So we part him out. You know, he takes a shot. He takes the ram, beautiful shot. The ram, of all things I've ever seen and experienced, the ram decides to go down the mountain to drink water at the bottom before our hunter shoots him. So I don't even I had to climb down the mountain. Oh
man, you got a gift.
Like never happens. That never happens. And we had rode horses for a couple of days looking for him, like away from camp or whatever, right? And the rams that we had found, this hunter, there was an interest of him, and this ram we ended up shooting right close to our camp. We were able to walk it back.
Man.
So we got this ram up in my backpack, right? And I'm like, I say to the guide, you know, I just said, if we were having a hike across mountains, there's no way I could carry this load. And I'm way slower than this guide is. He's totally in shape. He's been doing it for months and years before this. You know, he's like seasoned, young, strong guy. And I said, okay, well, like, let's put it in. So my pack's like 60 pounds or something. And I'm like, all right, I'm going. I'm going to go ahead of you in case you have to catch up to me, you know? And so I hoof it back as fast as I can. And I get back to that cabin with this guy's meat, you know, and I start cooking it up. And the guys come in and I've got heart in the pan for him, you know, and it's all ready to go. And we're sitting there. And it's like, then you start reliving that hunt, right? Like, this is exactly what this guy wanted. Like, he's sitting there now with the skull in his hands, and people find it morbid and gross, but this is what I do, you know?
No,
like, yeah. And he's telling the story. He's telling the story about how this is exactly it. This is exactly what he wanted. We found a ram that was bigger than this, but it wasn't what he wanted. This is what he saved up his entire life for this.
Wow.
This hunt, you know? And you're just like, oh, that's, you know, right then I was like, I'm not selling hunts. I'm not just hunting.
Right.
You're fulfilling people's lifelong dreams. And then they tell you stories like, oh, my grandpa, you know, he told me once about this kind of hunt and I've always wanted to go on it and he passed and I wish we could have gone together, you know. And so you hear this from people, or they come up fishing here to Iskwatikan Lake and like people will bring their grandpa's ashes to spread in the lake. You know, and it's like, it means so much more to those people than we think it means to them. And so I'm not just going out, just killing stuff for the fun of it. I mean, I love shooting gophers. I'm not going to lie. Like there's no good gopher. That's not a dead gopher. Like they all exterminate them things.
Oh man. I just thought of Caddyshack. So.
Yeah. But you know, and so people find that morbid that, yeah, no, I'm going out there and I'm encouraging people to hunt and live these stories or whatever. But every time they step foot out there and they have the story to tell me about, you know, grandpa or grandma or my mom, or I did this when I was a kid and now I'm bringing my kids and my grandkids to do this with you. You're creating those memories for those people, like life memories. you're doing something for them that they're not going to get by watching television.
Absolutely not.
It's
yes.
never be fulfilled, you know? And so for me, that's the best part of my job.
That, I'm telling you, like, I'm just, man, I'm taking all this in. This is one of the biggest motivators of why I really wanted to start this podcast, because I started really like my brand with off-road stuff and, you know, Jeeping and all that. But I was like, man, I do so much more and I want to share so much more. And these things are connectors too, you know, because I associate people like politically on a different spectrum, but we get out there and we do our thing and all that. But, you know, you brought up something that just resonates. When someone sees that skull, that, you know, trophy, whatever, I mean, hunters are probably more like that. Harvest is something more. It's almost, you know, it's just the lack of a better word, almost like spiritual. Like there's so much respect for that animal that you have. You're gonna, you go ahead and you're gonna use the meat. You're gonna use what you can, all that stuff. And if someone chooses to mount that every time they look at it, they're thinking that whole story, that whole experience, and it just warms their heart. And it's not. And I share this all the time. It's not even about the kill, you know. It's not even about that. It is so much more. And, you know, when my son he got his first hunt, he got a pig last year. And I said, you know what, man, guess what? We're going to eat that pig. You're providing for your family. We talked about it. Like, yeah, I'll always have that, man. I mean, it is just amazing. Like, I love how that story, you shared all that. I'm so glad that we're able to kind of do this, Michelle. I really appreciate you coming on. You know, so far as everybody, they want to follow your adventures, follow your story, everything, you know, where can they find you and continue to follow you? And on top of it, if they want to try and book you for one of these, you know, memory builders, you know, how do they do that?
Yeah. So I have a Facebook page. It's called Legacy Survival Training. And then it's got my name tagged onto it, Michelle Ann Wohlberge. I don't accept personal friend requests on my personal Facebook because, I mean,
weirdos.
My life, like my kid, that's, you know, like, I share so much of myself. Follow me on my business. It's where most of my stuff gets posted. So Legacy Survival Training, Michelle Ann Wohlberge. And then my Instagram, I have a open personal Instagram that everybody's following. It's just Michelle Ann Wohlberge, MICHELLEANNEWOHLBERG, Michelle Ann Wohlberge. And then as far as the hunts and pricing, you can look up Blackstone Outfitters in the Yukon, spelled just like it sounds. Iskwatikan Lake Lodge on Facebook. That's ISKWA. Goodness me! Now
we'll put it in the show notes. We're good. Far as I'll make sure that these are linked in, so people can go to the show notes, look at it, and then we'll make sure that people can get there. You can hit me up. I'll send you there.
Exactly. And then, so it's ISKWATIKAN. And then I also do like whitetail, like big Saskatchewan whitetail hunting, which is a memory like totally a lot of people have. And I work with Great Gray Outfitters and Western Trophy Outfitters here in Saskatchewan with that. So I do whitetail, black bear, I do fishing. And then I also the big game hunts that are, you know, just the next level of hunting, right? I mean, you can hunt every species on earth and never have experienced a ram hunt, you know, in the mountains. So no, I'm totally, if people hit me up and follow me, I try to respond to messages that people send me, good and bad.
That's good.
I'm not always polite though. If you send me a bad one, I'm not going to lie. If you haven't that out from the way I talk or from the way I've lived my life, I mean, that's on you. Don't be upset if I send you back something nasty.
No, man, you know what? Hey, you know, I think this is what I love about doing this is I think it helps people communicate, because I can't tell you how many times I've had conversations about hunting with people who just look at it like, oh, I can't believe you do that. But because it's a skill that's lost. It's a total skill that's lost. And that when they hear stories like you and you share that experience and you talk about that, the independence you gain, the kill is the smallest part of it. And on top of it, we haven't even dove into the whole conservation of the herd and all this other stuff, herd management. Yeah. Like people don't realize that hunters are probably the best environmentalists that are out there. Like when you want to talk about putting dollars and putting time and volunteer and doing all these things to ensure that there will be a herd in the future for your children and their children and all that, no one contributes all that more than hunting and, you know, fishing to a fishing community as well. But yes, that right there. Yeah.
Like I count animals. I count the number of does and bucks and I take a hoof score on them and say like, and I report it back to the the owner of the whitetail camp, and I'm like, today I saw X number of does around this bait.
Right.
There are this many in heat, right? They're hot, they're ready. There's this many who are not, and that's so that we can plan out our next year's hunts and the hunts after. Because if you're hunting, like straight up, let's just go there for really quick before we end. If you're hunting or fishing with somebody who doesn't care about what the limits are, if they don't care, like let's hunt an area clean, don't support them. Yeah. I don't support that. Like, I'm not. And I'm all about hunting. I'm all about fishing. But if you're somebody who's like, shit, just no big deal, we'll just mark it down as whatever. No, like, don't support those people. There are plenty of on the up and up outfitters and out there. Support those folks for sure. Because those other guys, that's like supporting a criminal. I ain't for that.
No, I'm with you. And that's too. And you brought up a good point with making sure, do your good due diligence to ensure this is a legitimate outfitter. There's a lot of, sidebar outfitters and that you get into those realms, because guess what? If you're out there hunting with them, regardless if you knew or you don't know, you're just as much trouble as they are. So you need to do your due diligence to ensure you're going with a registered outfitter and someone that's, doing the right things, if you will. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, for conservation. Thank you for having me.
No, I tell you, I could literally talk to you for another hour, Michelle, and I would love to bring you back on. And I'll tell you what, I'll hit you up and we'll find a good time. And maybe you were doing one of those crazy other ram adventures or whatnot. But feel free to send us a note every now and then. Just let us know, hey, I was out today. I'll put the clip in the show. I think there is a lot that you can provide our listeners. I think there is so much that you can provide, people who kind of need that confidence build. And I think this would be something I would absolutely direct them to you. And believe me, if I'm ever up in that area, I'm looking you up. I know there's plenty I could learn from you. And again, you did an amazing job on the show. Appreciate you finding time with us. I know you're busy with all the things you got going on. Thank you. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me. I totally appreciate it. And I know I could learn a lot from you guys too. So yeah, we'll keep in touch and we'll take it from there.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later. Tell Lars we said hi. We love seeing all those fish he catches up there.
Yeah. Oh, he's been in camp for a long time. Let me tell you, he's starting to get a little bushed himself.
All right. Well, you take care.
Bye.
Since 1989, Tuffy Security Products has been the industry leader in automotive security. Tuffy has a variety of vehicle-specific consoles, drawers, and lockboxes. Tuffy manufactures adventure-ready organization and security for your Jeep, truck, or SUV. Visit TuffyProducts.com and use special offer code GRIND to save 10% on your order. The Cup of Joe segment is brought to you by Seastate Coffee. Have you ever actually drank good coffee? Stop wasting your money on old, stale coffee from the store and make the switch to Seastate Coffee. Seastate Coffee is a United States Marine Corps veteran-owned and operated roastery, selling premium coffee that's roasted on order and delivered fresh to you. Order your coffee today at www.seastatecoffee.com.
Hey, man, that interview, we had a lot of good things this week, really a lot of great things, but that interview with Michelle was just freaking amazing, man.
Yeah, when you sent that to me, and I was just like, wow, because we were already excited to bring her on the show, and all the content and the things that she brings, all the light that she sheds on, survival and the outdoors and being a woman in the outdoors, all those struggles. Definitely somebody that's you'll find inspiration in.
Well, I just like the fact of her will, I'm not going to fail. Like, she had such strong mental focus. The humility that she had, in a sense of, hey, just that personal growth that she had, how much more that she could learn, and she's willing to absorb that. And just the things that she did and just that self-evaluation, and then she's able to carry on and share that message with people that she comes in contact with, where they can apply it in life skills. I mean, that is what I love about hunting and fishing, all these things, man. I can't remember if I shared it in the interview or not, but I told my son, I told him sometime, I cannot wait to be miserable with you, man. because I know what that builds. When you look at the challenges like that, and then someone says, oh man, my phone's out, or my car broke down, or it's not that big of a deal. It really isn't when you look at all the things that you like, oh my God, I didn't eat for 2 weeks. This is okay. I can deal with this, like, man. So I enjoyed that interview so much, and I could have talked to her for another like 2-3 hours easily. And she's willing to come back on. We talked about a couple things too. So I'm really hoping to bring her back on later this year as well, and she can share with us what she's got going on. Just a real person, like that right there. That was her. Nothing Hollywooded up. It's what you heard is who she is. And Michelle, I hope you catch this episode, but really sincerely thank you for coming on. And man, you covered some really cool things too, man. I this whole show, I was just thinking about, we probably with the outdoor update could, while we're in the pseudo off season for hunting, we can absolutely focus on habitat groups, habitat management groups, conservation groups, and really start educating people on resources that they can get involved in, like QDMA, National Wild Turkey Federation, like organizations that are national, and even some that are local that we can bring to light to people to say, because a lot of times too, hunters need to know, hey, I want to get into hunting, but where do I go? Who do I connect with? And these, right. They helped me when I got back into it, Chuck and the, oh my goodness, I forgot, Backcountry. What am I thinking? Oh, he's going to be so mad at me. But the Backcountry Anglers, oh man, I can't believe I messed it up. Anyways, his organization he's attached to, I'm actually a member too. They're going to throw me out now. But that organization has been super helpful. QDMA has been super helpful. NWTF has been super helpful. Help me bring my son out. So I think that's a great thing that potentially we can do. Y'all can let us know what we think with that as well, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said, I love doing that stuff. It's great to bring, light to some of these acts, orders, bills, laws, etc., especially when they need attention and, we have a voice and we need to say something about it. But like you said, I just appreciate, finding these local and national level organizations that, on a daily basis, you can contribute to, bettering the environment around us. That way we ensure longevity in our, public game lands, which are ours.
Yeah, backcountry hunters and anglers hit me just right now, so of course I remember it now. But
yeah, I put that in.
Yeah, hey, staying healthy, get on your mental game. Yeah. Obviously, so important. I loved, and going back to Michelle's interview when she was sharing, like, hey, when she was talking about going on that learning how to guide for the ram hunt, and she was like, yeah, I just wasn't physically prepared for that. And she was sharing that when she was like learning some of the things and whatnot. And this is coming from someone that this is what they do. Like they live out into the wilderness and they do this. And for her to say, yeah, hey, I need to improve here. That like, yeah, you know what? I work in an officer now. I don't do the things I did 20 years ago. And there has to be an honesty, and you have to be true where you're physically and mentally at. Because if you're thinking, hey, I'm still that guy that I was when I was 25 and, rock hard abs and stuff like that, and you try and go out there and act that way, you're not that way. It's going to come at the worst time. You have to be honest with yourself, build into it. It's just good preparation, because the focus should be on the experience. And on top of it, when you're ready to take that shot, you're going to take an ethical shot. You're not, you're going to be mentally ready to do it. Absolutely. So, Kevin Yow and his club, man, Tops Down Jeep Club, I have such a special spot in my heart for that event and the group of people that go out to Topsail Island. And they rebranded the Jeep Week there for the Jeep Club. And for them to take that on, amazing. And I did talk to Kevin, I think, after the interview, or maybe it was a little before we started. So there was a club, actually, Outer Banks Jeep Jam used to be run by a group. And then out of the blue, like a couple months before it was supposed to happen, they just bailed on it. And a Jeep club that I just love, man, Going Coastal Jeep Club, they said, no, we're going to pick it up because we enjoy this. And they just took it on their own. They got connected and in like a very small time. And so here you see in another Jeep club, see an event that they enjoyed. It brings people together. And, you know, people can share, learn, and enjoy each other's company, learn things. And they literally said, hey, not on our watch. We're going to make it happen. And they put it together. These guys don't get anything other than the joy of doing it. I mean, they don't make money. They don't make money on anything they make goes to a charity. So just that's what I love about these communities, man. I really love it.
Yeah. And I absolutely applaud anybody that's stepping up and doing things this year to just keep us regular with, you know, so many people fighting against it, trying to shut it down. Yeah, it's not safe. You know, screw that. Like, we're still having our stuff. You know what I mean? I 100%, you know, obviously responsibly or whatever. Within
right. I mean, you know what?
But
I don't need a mom and dad. If we got to be responsible, hey, I know how to be responsible. And the thing about it is you do be wise and you need that engagement. Hopefully I'm heading to Uwharrie this weekend. And the Nexen tires are supposed to be getting here tomorrow. I'm hoping to get those mounted on Friday and then be on the trail on Sunday. So that's kind of the goal. That's the plan. Yeah.
No way.
That's the plan. Yep. So that's what the tracking thing said, and I talked to Paul via text earlier, and so he's like, yeah, man. So fingers crossed, Root will have some new tires, and I'll be able to come back next week and give you an assessment of what the one disclaimer I need to add is, so when this whole COVID thing went down, I just replaced my catalytic converter. And the new one that I put on sits lower, a tiny bit lower. So my armor, the center plate under that protects the gearbox and stuff, well, the screws that I had weren't long enough. So I had to go get new screws. But then COVID happened and the shop kind of closed up for a while. And then I told them, hey, Nexen's supposed to be sending me tires. Why don't we just do it all together? Because they're on a lift. I don't have a lift in my garage. And it's easier to put that armor on with a lift. So I've been waiting to do that. But if I can't get that armor on, I might still go out, but I'm not going to be as daring.
Yeah, maybe just baby it a little bit.
I need to drive it home.
Wouldn't want to send something up through the oil pan.
Right, tires look good, but dang, dude, why is that on the ground? Why is your drive shaft on the ground?
So talk to me, man. What's going on here? It's the 24th, and I believe we have a giveaway going on.
We do, man. We haven't had anyone brave enough to put to video the My Worst Recovery giveaway. So remember, guys, gals, you can win. And right now, I mean, anyone that follow us on our social media, you're already entered. Okay, so you're lucky. But I'm telling you right now, if you submit a video, a voicemail, a picture, and a story, you get bumped up. I'm going to tell you right now, because we really want to just have fun with this. And a couple of people hit me up and they're like, yeah, I'm just not sure if anyway, well, put it on there, man. And I think that sometimes just the whole judgmental thing, some people can be cruel on social media. So I kind of get it, but we're not going to be, and you might win some cool stuff out of it. There's a Factor 55 Fairlead 1.0 Haas Fairlead. There's a Flat E Expert that you can win. And then there's a Flat Link rope guard. So you can win all this stuff. And if you already have something like that, Factor 55 is more than happy to modify it for your needs. So I'm telling you right now, do it. Freaking do it. I'm telling you right now. Or you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to donate it to a club and be done with it. So you have a chance, put it on there, have fun, and keep it positive. And I told you can have a little, we like honesty, but a little bit of a fish story, is it, a little exaggeration? That's fine. But if you're you're a Patreon, the higher level you are, the more entries you get. You leave us a review on Stitcher and Apple Podcasts or even YouTube, you get an extra entry. You complete the action items like that. You get 2 entries by following us. You follow Factor 55 on Instagram and Facebook. You get 3 additional entries by just doing what we just talked about, posting your story, put it on a voicemail, put a video out, whatever the case may be. Hell, you can email it. I'll do it for you. No big deal. But let's have some fun with this, and let's get a good story that's out there to help entertain people. If you want to be super creative, even better. We're trying to have some fun here, and it's a cool thing Factor 55 is doing. And just to stress this out as well, this begins our summer giveaways. We have more stuff to give away. This is like the first of stuff. I got stuff, and I've been talking to like an outdoorsy freaking place trying to hook some things up. And, we kind of need your help. Putting those reviews, help. Giving us those 5-star ratings, help. Subscribing and downloading our show, help. So you kind of start doing that stuff. We're able to make some cooler things that happen at the giveaway for the podcast. And then when we actually start doing some events, those you are able to come to it. We're able to get some really cool things that we'll be able to do for a raffle, raise some money for some good cause or something like that. Help some clubs out, help some peeps out. Whatever. I mean, anyone that's ever been to an event where I've had freaking the stars up, the red, white, and blue tent, you guys know it. It's so easy to find a Route 16 grind or Route 16 tent. So easy to find it. We always have some good stuff going on. Always have a crowd out there. So, hey, get on it, do it, have fun with it. I do want to put an update before I forget, Ethan, about Joe Jurgensen. So I talked to the campaign today, and she's starting to move up. Great support out there. Obviously, she's got my vote. You guys, I hope you figure it out. That's all I'm going to say with that. But she's definitely got my vote. But she is going to. She was going to come on in early July, but she may have to reschedule, or she may not be able to make it. We definitely have Spike coming on July 22nd is when I will be interviewing him, and we'll post that show that week with that. But if she's not able to make it, I'm going to try and work some things out with a campaign to get some things that we talk about with public land. Because one of her major platforms, part of her platform, is the environment, which we tie in. When I applied to get her to come on, that was an area that we touched on, and I think that's one of the reasons why we were selected. But they've been very gracious and all that, but I'm also respectful that, we're not a Joe Rogan yet, so she's got to get her story out there, her message out to some big audience. But either way, we're really appreciative. If she can make it, great. And if not, we definitely will be able to get the VP candidate, and hopefully we'll be able to get some words from her and whatnot. But I'll tell you, I just enjoy doing this, Ethan. All the things we had from, Tops Down Jeep Club, the from the field, the content that you're bringing, the interview with Michelle, wrapping this stuff up. This is what this podcast is about, bringing out good information, things that inform you, bringing some positive things out there, getting people energized to get outside, go do some things, challenge yourself. You don't give up. There's so much that's going on here. And hey, if you want to be on the show, you got a good story, or you got someone that that you think will be cool, hey, hit us up, send us an email, hit Ethan up, hit me up, whoever. Just hit us up and we'll figure it out and we'll get them on. I mean, those young men we had on last week were amazing, dude. What a great story.
Absolutely. And like Nikki G said, and, we talked about, it's just inspiring to see the next generation so enthralled with the outdoors. And, there's so much negativity. I don't know. I associate social media with a lot of negative connotations.
No, it's true though.
Without social media, we couldn't do what we're doing here. So, hey, I'm torn, obviously, but there's a lot of junk on there, we'll just say. And I think that it gets used in not so productive manners by everybody, not just, our next generation of our youth. And to see them taking, things that we didn't have when we were kids and, making these videos and being informative and being good role models for, that next generation coming up is it's inspiring to me. You're never too old to, learn something from somebody of any age, so that definitely caught me. And I'm like, man, that's something that, we all just need to take a second and appreciate and wonder, how we can, be influencers as well. So, yeah,
you can learn from anybody. And the end of the day is this, you can have your own opinion, and I'll respect that you have an opinion. I may not agree with it and stuff. And that's the cool thing about it. And I think that's what we just need to understand is, hey, maybe that's just not, guess what? I know some of y'all are going to vote that way or this way. I'm not going to hate on you. I'm going to be like, okay, you have your reason. I like the Constitution and follow it. That's my reason. So we're just going to leave it at that. But I'll still respect the fact you have the reasons you want to go your direction. And we can still wheel. We can still hunt. We can still go learn things. We can laugh, hang out at the camp, whatever the case may be. You need help putting your tent up. I'm more than happy to help you. I'm your neighbor. If we just had a neighbor attitude, I think things would be better. If you're my neighbor, I don't need to know your business. You need my help, I'm going to help you. Plain and simple.
That's what America was founded on. We just need to retrace our roots. Thank you all for joining us. I hope you liked that show, man. We had a great time doing it. But remember, if you have an idea or maybe you would like to contribute to one of our segments, all you have to do is go to rootonesix.com and select contact and let us know your idea. That's rootonesix.com and select contact.
Thanks for listening to the Route 16 Grind. We want to thank our amazing sponsors, Warren Industries, Tuffy Security Products, Seastate Coffee, and Route 16 Off-Road for their support. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and more. Just look for Route 16. That's ROOTONESIX. Or just go to Route16.com. Until next week, plan smart, be safe, and as always, be prepared.
GPS? What about map encumbments, bro?